Hey NBA fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Chat Sports, and today we have some fresh NBA news and rumors all centering around trades as we are just a little bit more than a month away from the NBA trade deadline. A lot of big names that are starting to be kind of thrown out into the fire right now that could be moved by the deadline, starting with Karl-Anthony Towns and multiple teams monitoring the situation right now with the superstar big man up in Minnesota. So the T-Wolves are at the bottom of the Western Conference. They have been really bad this year, like one above the Warriors in terms of one of the worst teams in the Western Conference based just on their record. And one of the teams that is very interested in Karl-Anthony Towns is actually the Warriors, who are, quote, monitoring the Towns situation. Karl-Anthony Towns has been rumored to be unhappy the fact that they are losing. He wants to use his talent to actually compete in the postseason, something that the Timberwolves have not really been able to do. And CBS Sports put out a potential trade that you could see Karl-Anthony Towns for some Golden State Warrior players, including something like this: Karl-Anthony Towns for D'Angelo Russell, Paschall, and a high draft pick, aka maybe the first round draft pick that the Warriors have right now here in 2020. That could be a top 5 pick depending on where it falls later on this season. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, and it feels like there are a lot of other teams that could offer more. I read a report earlier today talking about the Phoenix Suns possibly being of interest there, and Miami Heat could be of interest, even though they don't have a lot of trade assets. But teams that actually have some things to deal could be able to outbid the Golden State Warriors here. But what's interesting is what the Warriors are going to do with D'Angelo Russell. Obviously, D'Angelo Russell has to be the centerpiece for this trade. I don't see a scenario where they could get Karl-Anthony Towns and also keep D'Angelo Russell unless you wanted to move a guy like Draymond Green or something like that. But it's interesting to note, yes, the big headline is the Warriors are monitoring Karl-Anthony Towns, but I would put the entire NBA on Karl-Anthony Towns' watch right now, because if he becomes available, that is a player that teams could all be really interested in, and whoever has the biggest assets, the most things to give away, could be getting one of the best superstars in the NBA. He's also signed, right? This isn't a guy who has an expiring contract. He's signed for the next couple of years, so it's a very interesting prospect here. The question is, 1, would the T-Wolves actually be willing to move him? And 2, what would it take to do so? Again, the Warriors could offer D'Angelo Russell and maybe a first-round draft pick, but would that be enough? We would have to wait and see. All right, you're watching on YouTube. Don't worry about the ads about to pop up. Just scroll down, answer this question: do the Warriors need another star to pair with Klay and Steph? That's assuming that they're trading away D'Angelo Russell. So if you think they need to keep D'Angelo Russell, then let me know. Just answer the pinned comment down below. Or if you think they need to trade him away and bring in a different superstar, let me know in the comment section down below. See, it's kind of geared around Karl-Anthony Towns. So let the ad run. Go ahead, scroll down, answer the question. All right, so the Cleveland Cavaliers obviously are going to be sellers at the trade deadline. They've been trying to move a lot of their high-value pieces here over the past couple of weeks and months. We talked a lot about Kevin Love, and now big man Tristan Thompson is at the center of trade talks right now for a lot of teams interested in the Cavs big man, who helped the Cavs in a lot of those Eastern Conference Finals, and also in the NBA Finals to win it in 2016. The Cavs, as we know, sellers at the deadline, but it looks like it's only going to take a first-round pick to go ahead and move Tristan Thompson. Chris Fedor from Cleveland.com said in an interesting article, quote, "Because of Thompson's contract situation, his murky future, and the many ways he can help a playoff contender, there's been plenty of chatter about him being dealt ahead of the February 6th deadline, especially if the Cavs get a first-round pick in return." This is what essentially how the deadline is going to work. There are going to be a lot of teams that have one hole, right? One piece away from being, in their minds, competitive in their conference, Eastern or Western Conference. So, you needed a big man. You could turn to Cleveland and go, all right, we could take Kevin Love, who in all intents and purposes is better than Tristan Thompson because he can actually stretch the floor. He's more of a stretch 4, could be a smaller 5. Whereas you have a guy like Tristan Thompson, who of course is basically just a big man, get yourself rebounds, play good defense, still a good player, still can score, but does not have the stretchability of Kevin Love. Here's the deal: he's cheaper. Kevin Love has a much bigger contract, would probably cost more. You can have a first-round draft pick, and be like, listen, we don't like our options at 14 overall or 18 overall or 22 overall. Let's go ahead and trade for a surefire big man we can throw into our starting lineup or come off the bench and give you a lot of valuable minutes, especially on the defensive side. Tristan Thompson would allow teams to do that. Again, this is how the deadline is going to work. If you are one piece away, that is when you start picking up the phone and taking a look around the NBA and being like, hey, Cleveland, what's going to cost for Tristan Thompson? Oh, a first-round draft pick? Done. I would not be surprised if both Kevin Love and Tristan Thompson are traded at the deadline, but it almost makes more sense to trade for Tristan Thompson if you are a little bit, lighter on the money, if you don't have a ton of assets, because he would be a little bit cheaper. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to Chat Sports. We've been cruising here with a ton of new subscribers in 2019. Let's just roll into 2020 with a bunch of new guys as well. Click the red subscribe button down below. Click the notification bell. We would greatly appreciate that. How about this one? Very, very interesting, all coming from the Ringer's Ryan Russillo. So this one is all about the Rockets potentially moving on from Russell Westbrook at the trade deadline. Now this is weird because Westbrook was just traded this past offseason to the Rockets after the Rockets got rid of Chris Paul. You know, the whole swap from the Thunder, the Rockets, we all understand what happened. But Houston, and this is really not that debatable, has been better when Westbrook is not on the floor when it's just been James Harden. Shocker, I know, 2 ball-dominant point guards. They're better when only 1 ball-dominant point guard is on the floor. Just blows my mind. Not really, but you get my point. Westbrook has 3 years left on his deal that varies from like $41 million to $44 million, like $46, $47 million. So he's expensive, but where this all came to be in terms of potentially being a trade was my recent podcast from the Ringer's Ryan Russillo saying, quote, is Darly Morey, the GM of the Rockets, actively calling people saying, hey, I've got to dump Westbrook? Well, of course, he wouldn't do it that way, but there are people who believe Westbrook is available and that Darryl knows I've got to figure something out here. Now, the interesting part about this, one, is that obviously Russell Westbrook is available. 2, that Morey has got to figure something out. What Morey has to figure out is how the heck he's finally going to go ahead and win the Western Conference, because the Rockets have had a very, very good basketball team the past couple of years. They've been able to score at will. They have one of the best pure scorers in the league in James Harden, yet they keep coming up short, whether that was to the Warriors or to other teams. And so Morey's sitting there going, I only get James Harden for so long, right? James Harden can only be an elite scorer for so many years. Now, hopefully for a long time in the future, but we need to win now. The Rockets have really been in win-now mode for a while. Now, they did a risk. They got rid of an older Chris Paul for a younger Russell Westbrook, and in all intents and purposes, it has not worked out to the liking of Darly Morey. So if he gets the right offer, the right return, and again, not just draft picks, he would need starting quality players as well. You could see him pulling the trigger with Russell Westbrook. Are they actively making a phone call? No, it's not what Ryan Russillo said on his Ringer podcast. They're not calling people saying, hey, you want Russell Westbrook? But if someone makes that call, and they go, hey, we want Westbrook, we're willing to give you this, this, and that, the Rockets could be willing to move on from him in terms of trying to just be competitive in the Western Conference, because right now, who would pick the Rockets to come out of the West? Think about it. Are they going to take the Rockets over the Clippers right now? They take them over the Lakers right now? Take them over the Jazz, over the Nuggets? I mean, even the Blazers? The Blazers might be worse in terms of the record, but in a 7-game series, who are you picking, right? These are all options right now that Darly Morey is looking at and understanding that the Rockets are, yes, a fine basketball team, would probably be an elite basketball team in the East, but in the West, that is not the case, and maybe a move with a guy like Russell Westbrook could be just enough to put them over the top. I don't know of a guy they could trade for, barring, like one of the guys that are untradeable, like Giannis or LeBron, which obviously won't happen, that could put the Rockets, ahead in the Western Conference. But if there is a trade, that Darly Morey will be able to find it. I would trade him if I could, but again, what is your return on investment? We'll have to go ahead and wait and see. Should the Rockets trade Russell Westbrook? Type Y down below for yes, type N down below for no in the comments. Before we move on, a lot of basketball still left, meaning a lot of chances for you guys to bet on the NBA with our friends at BetDSI. We talk about this every single day here on the channel. That is because they are a great partner and a great opportunity for you guys to get a 120% deposit bonus whenever you first sign up. Chatsports.com/bet. Use the promo code DEAL120. Get you a 120% deposit bonus whenever you sign up for the very first time, meaning put $100 down, that instantly turns into $220. You can throw it on your team, the Rockets. You can throw it on the Wizards. You can throw it on the Lakers. Whoever you want, bet on them. Chance to win some serious money there. Chatsports.com/bet. Final bit of news here, and it has to do with the Miami Heat, which has been a kind of a reoccurring trade scenario here on our NBA trade rumors, and that is Jrue Holiday. So the Pelicans have been, let's be honest, a disappointment this season. Now, Zion Williamson being injured has been a real part of that, but overall, they have not been the team that you would think would be at least relevant for an 8th or a 7th seed in the Western Conference. The Pelicans, they are looking at trying to maintain their core, but if push comes to shove, they could make some trades at the deadline, aka a guy like Jrue Holiday, mainly because Jrue Holiday is almost 29 years old and wants to actually be competitive really for the first time in his career. Sure, they had some playoff runs, aka the first round with Anthony Davis, but maybe he wants to actually go deeper into the playoffs because he's been a good point guard for a very, very long time. So The Athletic has a quote here on Holiday saying, quote, Holiday has embraced a leadership position this season, but he wants to compete at the age of 29 and with free agency looming for him in 2021. He wants to go win, right? This is exactly what happens in the NBA. People try and earn their money. They finally get paid. They're like, all right, I'm an elite player. I'm making a ton of money. Oh, wait, I'm on a terrible team. I kind of want to get out of here and go win because LeBron James winning on the Lakers, Kawhi Leonard, Toronto, now the Clippers, Giannis and the Bucks. That looks like a lot more fun than just making money and not even making it to the postseason. This is the same thing that's happening right now with Karl-Anthony Towns, we talked about earlier in Minnesota, right? Made his money. He's established himself as an elite player, as a star in this league. Now I want to actually go win playoff games to help further cement my greatness going into the twilight years of my career. We mentioned Miami. Here's the problem with Miami. Even though they were linked to Drew Holiday, they've been linked to like every point guard so far this season. They don't have a first rounder, the Heat, until 2025. I had to like double check that whenever I saw the stat, but yes, 2025 is the first time you have a first round draft pick down in Miami. So it would take some sort of weird combination of like Goran Dragic, Justice Winslow, Duncan Robinson, plus a 2025 first. So if you are the New Orleans Pelicans, is that enough to make you go ahead and make the trade? Now, cap space is a whole different issue with this, but if you're just taking on pure, am I getting a better deal? I don't think the Pelicans are going to go ahead and agree with that. Now, if Holiday wants to go ahead and force his way out, then maybe this works. And of course, the Miami Heat have been a lot better in the Eastern Conference and could make the argument adding a guy like Holiday on the offensive scoring side could really benefit them with their deep Eastern Conference playoff aspirations. But as we look at it right now, it looks like they want to keep Holiday for the long term. But if push comes to shove, as we've said before, and he wants to go ahead and win now, he could be another trade deadline target for a lot of teams that are interested in a point guard, shooting guard hybrid, wherever you really want to play him going into the beginning of 2020, the latter half of this year. There you go. A lot of trade news, as there always is. We do this every single week because every single week, as you see, new stuff comes up. Will this happen? Not sure. Could it potentially happen? Absolutely. Karl-Anthony Towns, I would not be surprised if he's traded at the trade deadline. I would be shocked if Tristan Thompson is not moved. Russell Westbrook would be like a real surprise to me because just the money and where would he really fit and what could you get in return. But also Drew Holiday, you never know. Teams that get desperate, that either have an injury or need some more scoring, he could be another option for a lot of people looking for a new deal. There you go. That's all the time we have for today on our Chat Sports NBA trade rumor video. Again, be sure to subscribe, hit the red subscribe button down below. Happy New Year, depending on when you watch this video. Let's roll into 2020 with some great NBA games and great coverage here, as always, for Chat Sports. I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.